Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Tryon. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight for the launch of the 2022 HomeMade Virtual Quilting Retreat. Yes, I know it's only April, but so many of you have asked since last year's quilting retreat, what will the next quilt be? Will you have another quilting retreat? The answer is yes, and tonight is the night you get to see the quilt in person. This is it. This is Stargazer. I hope you love it as much as we love it. It is absolutely gorgeous, and it is the brainchild of a very talented pattern designer, fabric designer, and she is with me here tonight, Vanessa Christenson. Thank you so much for being live with us tonight for this launch.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited that you guys chose our Stargazer pattern too. It's a beautiful one.
I mean, I have been such a huge fan. I have so many of your fabric bundles, confetti, bloom. Over the years, I've stocked up and used them piecemeal here and there. Sometimes I use the whole collection. Sometimes I use your pattern. Sometimes I use a different pattern. It's always so gorgeous. So when we were debating, and we did a lot of debating, the HomeMade team behind the scenes, like, okay, what quilt should it be this year? And it has to, and I just thought, oh, how didn't I think of this earlier? And then we went right to your website, and everybody just was like gasping the whole time, because you really, when you see it, it takes your breath away. And part of why it does, Vanessa, is because of how expertly you design the fabric. The ombre really is the key here, right?
Yeah, it really is the star of the show. Like you can do whatever you want, but this ombre kind of like takes it to the higher level.
Yeah, because it looks like we've got you can't, from afar, you can't quite tell what the sewer might have done here to create this gorgeous illusion of like this starburst, like this. And, when you hold up one of your fat quarters, this is the confetti, but it kind of is similar in a way to the galaxy fabric that we're going to be using for this retreat. But you see how it gradient, and it's got the metallic in it. Now this is the confetti, which is a little bit different than the galaxy. The galaxy's got more of a splattered effect, right?
Yes, actually, I have it here to show you.
Yeah, show me.
So you can actually see it's kind of like what you just showed with the confetti, but it's gold dots, and it does actually have the same feel of the light to the dark. And this is actually just a fat quarter.
Yep.
So this is just half of it right there.
Yes.
Whoops.
And then it'll get light. So the full width of fabric will get lighter again and darker again.
Yes, exactly. So with this one, we wanted a little bit of the same feel as the confetti, but a little bit more natural. So this fabric as well is a little different than all our other ombres, which actually has a hand-dyed look to it, which is actually how we started the whole process, which was to actually create ombre fabric just naturally. And then we transferred it to the mill, and then we put the gold splatter on top of it, and then it also has another splatter underneath it, so you can actually see there's the dark splatter as well on the underneath it slightly. Wow. So this one is a little bit different, has a different feel to it, but it still has amazing colors. I feel like this one's a little bit richer than our last few colors, or our last few lines.
Okay.
And I really, really, really am super excited about this. I'm not the only one, though. It seems like there's quite a bit of chatter online and with stores that this one is something to be kind of excited about as well.
When you look at it, let's show above again, because really, when you see the pattern mixed with the fabric, it literally takes your breath away. It's so beautiful. And, I see Deborah asking about the backing. We're going to provide in the kit the 108-inch wide backing. Now you've got a couple of different options. Let's just backtrack a little bit because we are talking about the HomeMade virtual quilting retreat this year. This is a 7-week online quilting retreat where we here at HomeMade send you at home everything you need to make this quilt. And I'm talking everything. So yes, all of the gorgeous Galaxy ombre, the ombre Galaxy fabric, Vanessa's beautiful pattern for the Stargazer quilt, all of that fabric that you're seeing there will be sent to you in your kit, along with the binding fabric, the 108-inch wide backing fabric, and the batting, the thread, the spray adhesive for the basting, and we've got a bunch of other cool quilting goodies that we'll send along too, because it's fun to get a nice pack of Happy Mail that has some surprises in it. Every year we try to put as much quilting goodness in the box as we possibly can. If anyone participated in our quilting retreat last year who's on, please let us know what your experience was like. We did the Lottie quilt last year from Penelope Handmade. It was so beautiful. We did it at Christmas time. And this is going to be gorgeous too. It doesn't start until October, so you've got time. You've got time. We're not starting next week or anything like that. But you will want to register early because, Vanessa, I'm not sure if it's the same where you are, but here, like, shipping is really slow and getting things in is really slow. So this year we've had to launch things early, and we will have to cap the number of people this year that we have in it because we have to get everyone's kits in so far in advance to make sure we can ship them out on time.
Yeah, well, I'm really grateful you're doing that because I understand shipping. I don't do as much of it anymore, but I do have to ship to stores and to distributors, and it is a little bit of a gamble and sometimes a little bit of a game playing like we're trying our best, we're doing our best that we can. But I'm also very grateful that we are able to do this, and things are starting to sort of move along, it seems like.
Yes, I am grateful that we seem to be through like the thickest part of this pandemic. But I am grateful for part of it too that brought a lot of people back to this love of sewing. And we've really found that being able to, you don't have to be in person. You can be in any part of the world and participate in a retreat like this. You don't have to live near you or me. Or a quilt shop or anywhere. You can just get this delivered right to your house and have everything that you need. So that's what's kind of cool about this event.
I have a funny story to tell you. Immediately when I posted on my Instagram about it, I had my friends were like, "What? I didn't know. I need to be part of this." I'm like, well, "Okay, you got the link."
Yeah, because it's the kind of thing where sometimes, especially if you've been following you on Instagram, you see your feed and you're like, "Oh gosh, I'd love to make that. Oh my goodness, I'd love to make that. But where do I start? Or I'm not a very good sewer, or I've never quilted before maybe." And this is the kind of thing where if we can tell you how we break it down. We've got some graphics made. We can show you week by week. We are going to take you through every single process of making this quilt. So in week 1, it's all about prepping your fabric and getting it cut. And if you've never cut with a rotary cutter and mat before, we're going to go through all of that. Or if you have, then you can sail right through. But I'll go through how to best stay organized when cutting this quilt, what to do first, and literally walk you through each step. Week 2, we're going to start sewing our half square triangles, and then we're going to start putting our blocks together. And as we go through the full 7 weeks, we're going to get to doing the quilt sandwich. We are even going to quilt this. Now, we've got like a beautiful, I think this has been done on the long arm, quilted pattern here with the stars that have been quilted right in. But I think we should attempt to do some of these stars ourselves. With some patterns. Maybe we'll include some star patterns in the quilt that you can chalk out and draw if you don't have access to a long arm. Or you can do some straight line quilting and put a couple stars in. We were going to take you through the entire process, including the quilting and the binding. So you won't just be, lots of quilt kits just give you the top and then you end up with lots of tops and you never end up finishing them. We do love that about this retreat is that we go through the entire the entire thing. So if you have any questions about it, please leave it in the chat. I've got Tamara here with me behind the camera, who is scrolling through the feed furiously, trying to locate any questions that you might have for me or Vanessa. Tamara, do we have one?
There was a question earlier about the fabric. Like, is it 100% cotton?
Let's talk about the Moda fabric for a minute, Vanessa. It's 100%
it is
cotton,
100%
right?
cotton. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's beautiful fabric to quilt with. I've never had any problems. As a matter of fact, my daughter, who's 15, kind of just, she's kind of funny. I try to give her instructions. She's like, back up, I'll figure it out on my own. So she's able to sew with it very easily. My whole thing is that, I mean, you know your tricks that you can do with when it comes to like some of the sewing. And I know that you'll probably have quite a few tricks as well of how to be able to sew really easily with this quilt, but or with this fabric. But what I do love is that it's really soft. It's like very beautiful soft fabric, and it really does sew really easily. But yes, it is 100% cotton.
Yes, 100% cotton. And lots of people have been asking the size. We can put that question up. It is 64 inches by 80. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's like a fairly large throw size.
Yeah. It's actually perfect when you're watching a movie and like your husband's trying to snuggle with you and you're like, okay, yeah, that's fine. We can but it's perfect. Curling up on the couch, reading a book. I love it. It's also just really great to take anywhere. It's really easy. It's not like super huge, but it's not also like too small to like be able to hang out under.
Yeah, for sure. I spend a lot of time in hockey rinks, and I've been taking a quilt that I made a couple years ago, but it gets a little larger than a queen size, and it's just I mean, granted, I can fit 4 mothers underneath, like we really spread it out, which is kind of nice, but it's so big, I can hardly fit it in a bag. So, this is a great size. You're right, for carrying around. Yeah. Tamara, let's take another question.
Linda's asking, can you size up to a king?
Everybody who does these retreats always wants more. We're going to get to what the options are. We have the pattern just for that size, but Vanessa, what would you suggest people do if they wanted to go rogue and make it bigger?
Look, we give you we give you beautiful, like step-by-step instructions, even in the pattern without your help that you're going to be doing. But like, you could take another row. I mean, you could just add like more stars and more, you can they're just blocks of stars and other pieces that you can actually say, you know what? I'm going to do one more row down this way and one more row on the other side. And I don't have the measurements for that, but for each one of those, you could easily just add more to it. I know that's always the thing. In order to we do a lot of color and diagrams, and because it's ombre fabric, we want you to be able to cut it the way that you're supposed to cut it, so that it looks like the pattern, and it looks like the quilt that you buy, or that the quilt pattern, the picture on the front. And so we use a lot of our pattern to explain the cutting and the placement. So I would love to add more instruction in there, but then we'll end up with a huge book.
For sure. But by the time you get to the point of assembling your blocks, you really will be an expert at putting these together. And if you've got enough fabric, or you can order an extra kit and it'll come with more fabric, then you can just start building along the sides before you add your backing and before you add your binding, and make it as large as you want.
Yep.
So this is the kind of one that literally you just add more of those blocks. It doesn't necessarily have to, there's 3 main blocks in the pattern. So as long as you make those 3, you can build from the base size here.
Exactly.
So since we're talking about options, why don't I go through the 3 options we've got for you for kits? Because like I said, I know you guys always want options. So we did our best to maintain the integrity of Vanessa's beautiful pattern, but also giving you guys, you know, some of what you're asking for, which is options. So this is the tried and true Galaxy. This is using the Galaxy collection, and it's got, where you see white, the Galaxy, the gold splatters as that background. And that's the one that I've got in front of me here tonight. It's the Galaxy. The second option is, if you want, we've called it daytime, the Stargazer daytime, because it's bright, it pops, and we're going to use as the background fabric a straight up solid white. So if you really want those ombre stars to just pop, 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 no interruption, no blending in with the metallic, then you can opt for daytime. And if you're dying to try something a little darker, you can try nighttime. We've named it nighttime. This is the Stargazer nighttime, and it's got the granite gray as the background fabric. Oh, and I should mention the backing on this one is the black onyx ombre, so it's going to get lighter in the center. You see it down there at the bottom. That little band, that's the black onyx. That's going to be the backing. And if we go back to daytime, you'll see the daytime has the backing that I've got here, which is the beautiful turquoise backing. That's for daytime. And then the Galaxy is going to have the navy in the confetti. It's going to look like this for the backing for the Galaxy one that we're doing. They all are going to be bound with the onyx, that black onyx. They all have the same binding. So if you go to homemade.ca, you can read all about all the options and how big it is and when it starts and all the details, and you can register there. Registration is now open. Like I said, we'll keep it open until it sells out. There is definitely a limit on the amount of fabric we can get and the amount of kits that we can make. So I would encourage you, if you're tempted, to go ahead and sign up. There is a payment plan because we know quilts do not come cheap, but we got the best deal we possibly could on the fabric. They're not giving it away these days, are they? I mean, but you're going to have this forever.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful quilt. My kids actually fight over who's going to inherit that one. So
I love it when they talk about you as though you're dead and what they're
yes, I have lots of quilts, and I like that one. Okay, fine.
Maybe you could whip up another one, and
or they can make it themselves.
Tomorrow, let's have another question.
For the people who've already signed up for the event, how do they pick which one they want?
Yes, so lots of people signed up sight unseen, quilt unseen, which is so great that people trusted us to come up with something beautiful for them to make this year. So please just email info@homemade.ca. Go through the options and tell us whether you want the Galaxy, the daytime, or the nighttime, and that's the one we will send you. If you are wanting more than one, so let me take you through the if you want more than one process, because so many people buy more than one, which is great. They have so much time. So if you are on the site and you are going to the HomeMade Quilting Retreat, there's a little drop-down menu here that says the HomeMade Quilting Retreat, and then there's extra Stargazer quilt kits. I'm on Canadian dollars at the top here, but you can switch to US dollars depending on where you are purchasing from. It's a little bit less in US dollars. Sorry, Canadians, but we hear you. Anyway, you can choose if you want Galaxy, daytime, which is the white solid, or the nighttime with the gray solid. And you can also decide if you want to put it on the payment plan, which is kind of nice because it doesn't start until October. It will spread the payments out over 3 or 4 months. I think it's 4 months actually, which is kind of nice because it is a big chunk. But by the time you get to it, it'll be all paid for, and honestly, you'll be finished before the holidays, which will be really, really great. So those are the 3 options. The Galaxy, which is using the the Galaxy, the Ombre Galaxy off-white in the background. which is the one I've got here. And then you've got option number 2, which is the daytime using the solid white. And then option number 3, which is the nighttime. If you're buying more than one, that's what I was getting at. If you're buying more than one, like you want the Galaxy and you want the nighttime, let's say, and you're putting in a second order, just go ahead and put it in the notes that you want, whichever one you want for your original order. And then we'll merge your 2 on this end. But you can also just email us at info@homemade.ca. So, Vanessa, give us a couple of hints on how we can best plan to work with ombre fabric, because sometimes I feel a little bit nervous about, should I always make sure that the dark side is up or down, or what happens? Do I have to be careful where I cut it? What do you think?
Look, this is the beautiful thing about ombre, is that it doesn't matter how you cut it, it's going to turn out amazing. And it's going to be kind of like a little bit of a surprise. Like there's a lot of times when I go and I talk about certain quilts, and there's one that I have that's just one color and it's one big heart. And everyone's like, oh, like, what was your plan? I'm like, I'll give you my plan. I had it on the ground. I had 4 small kids and a dog that would pass by and move everything around as I was sewing. So I just cut it up. I have fun with it. And you really can't go wrong with ombre fabric. Like, that's the fun part. It's like you can actually just go with it and you have a really fun process. Now, if you're technically the type that really likes to have a plan and know exactly what shade and everything like that, our patterns definitely do that for you. Like, we show you how to cut it exactly on the fabric so that you can be able to know how to do this. This one was a little easier because it's all just half square triangles, but where we place it, we tell you how to place it in our graphics and things like that. So really all you're doing is cutting up squares and then cutting those squares and making them into half square triangles. And the idea is that you just kind of want to play around. This should be fun. So how to best work with ombre is to not be scared and to just have fun.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm going to show this as big as I possibly can here so people can take a look at this is the turquoise ombre all in its glory. So this is going to be the backing of the daytime quilt, this great turquoise. So you can see now this darker right here is just the where we hang it. It's just a little pocket for hanging it. But you'll get the idea of the ombre kind of going from this end. See it?
And I love that because it's fashioned after our ombre confetti, the gold one, but this was made specifically for backing. So it's 108 wide, and the dots are huge, and it's really fun. And my daughter actually loves that one because that's the one that I was like, just have fun with it and like go at it. And she made huge stars with it, and it was just fun to like cut up. You can also use that fabric for like other things you can do, but as a backing, it's just perfect because it ties it all together.
Totally ties it all together. And so the backing on the daytime is going to be this great turquoise. On the nighttime, it's going to be the onyx. So it's sort of like nighttime kind of fades from like a cloudy gray to the dark black. And then in the Galaxy one, we're actually going to do the navy. So we just couldn't decide which one we love the most. So we're like, okay, let's each one of them can have a different backing. Tamara, let's hear another question.
Are the piecing fabrics the same for all 3 options?
Yes, that's right. So everybody's going to get, if we show the little graphic with the fabric on it, everyone's going to get all of these fabrics in their kit. And you should have like, you'll have obviously enough for the quilt and then some. But they're all the same for all 3 kits. It's the background fabric that's going to change, and the background and the backing that will change based on whichever option you pick. So yeah. Tamara.
Give me 1 second.
So nice. I just want to like right now.
Do you need a special presser foot to do the design? And can I do this on a Memory Craft 6,600.
Oh, 6,600, no problem. Now, the quilting, this quilting that was on here was done on a long arm because you can tell it's very like perfect. We won't require you to do a long arm quilting job. We will show you how to quilt this on your home machine. And I think I'm going to give you guys some star templates and some chalk, and we can do a few stars on our own and maybe some free motion quilting if you want. Now, I always give you guys quilting options because the last thing I want you to do is piece together this gorgeous quilt and then leave it to your ratty quilting skills, and then it like gets ruined or you're unhappy with it. I don't think it would be ruined, but you might not be totally happy with it if you don't have, very good free motion skills or whatever. So we'll go through some very easy options, even if it's like a couple stars, and then from those stars, we just do straight lines. We'll do something that's very, very doable depending on where you are. So I'll have a couple of different options for quilting it for sure.
Do you get a discount if you buy all 3?
So the quilt itself is the extra kits are slightly less than the class because you're already getting the class and the pattern. But there's not a lot of wiggle room, I gotta tell you. The Moda fabric, it's definitely premium and they definitely know it. So we love it. We're willing to pay it, but we have to pass it on. So, I mean, maybe we should do some sort of like, if you buy all 3, we, put you in a draw for something extra. But there's not much room on the price of the kits, especially because we're going to bring you all the classes and all the extra bonus goodies that you'll be getting in your kit. So yeah, I know last year we had people who bought all 3 or multiples and we saw them post, look, number 1, number 2, number 3. And we were all like, wow, so good. So good. But the payment plan is always an option. Tamara.
How much is the kit?
Oh yeah. $349 Canadian, which I think comes to $286 US. So what you get in the kit is everything you need to make this quilt. It's not just the top. So you're getting all of the Ombre Galaxy collection. You're getting all those Ombre Galaxy fabrics. I'm not sure if it's the entire collection, but everything you need to make the Ombre, the Stargazer. And then you're getting the backing, the 108-inch wide. So no having to piece the backing. Yay! You're also getting the binding fabric, which is the Ombre Galaxy Onyx. And you're getting the batting, a full thing of quilt batting. You're getting the thread. You probably will have a couple extra sewing notions in there. We're going to talk to, a lot of our sponsors are going to, throw a little bonus goodies in there. There's always some bonus things in there. There's always a treat. We always design an enamel pin to go with all of the quilting retreats. So I have designed this one. It might look similar to, I think, Vanessa, you'll love to get a little copy of this pin. It's so cute. Yes. And so there's lots of goodies in the box. You'll love it. No one's ever disappointed in their box, for sure. Anybody who's been in any of our events, the box is like the number one best thing when the box arrives. And usually what we do, and I don't see why this year would be any different, is we post the date once we know everybody will have their box delivered, and we do a live box opening where everybody across the world who's set up or who's participating opens their box at the same time, pulls out their fabric, gets a look at the goodies, and we typically bring 5 or 6 people in from around the world, and we all open it together so they can be live on the feed too. And it just helps grow this sewing community and the sense of togetherness, even when you're far apart, because never have I met, a greater community than the sewing community. I don't know if you find this, Vanessa, too, but like everybody's just so kind and supportive, and maybe it just has to do with like the good feeling you get from creating something like this.
Oh, absolutely. The sewing community, I mean, the whole reason why I'm even in the sewing community is because I needed a community when my husband, like 15 years ago, was deployed, and I was home by myself with 4 little kids. And he was overseas, and I just started to sew, and I just started to become part of this community, and it was the thing that helped me through that 13 months of him being gone. It was an amazing opportunity to actually see that from all over the world, everywhere, like that you just have this connection. And so that's, I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
We found it too, even in these events. What we do is once you've registered, you'll get the link for a private Facebook group. That will be the HomeMade Quilting Retreat Classroom. And everything you need for the course will be posted in there. Only people who register can go in. So you'll be, if you register, you'll be put into. And it really becomes kind of a hangout. There's lots of people get familiar with one another. People are helping each other out. Sometimes, people are working on it late in the night and they're posting, and there's always somebody there, even if it's not me, to answer the question or just sew along with you. The group has been, one of the best parts of it. And, I do think sewing friendships are have formed and are forming, online when you see the same person over, and especially when you're working on the same project.
Oh yeah. Some of my best, closest friends have been people that I've never actually ever met before,
right?
And it's all been either via communication through online or other ways. And then it's also really exciting, before everything, but when you actually would get together for quilt market or other things, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I actually get to hug you in person. This is exciting. But there's this amazing connection that happens that you don't even need to actually be in the same country or same hemisphere, whatever, is that you actually get this beautiful connection, and having a hangout room that you can do that's amazing. That's
really, really fun.
Amazing.
We've got to put Connie's question on the screen here, because Vanessa, you got to read this. Do you remember me saying this to you?
Absolutely not. There are no Y seams, not one single one in this quilt. You're welcome.
But you know what? I said the same thing when I first looked at it. I kind of said I love STARGAZER, but when the HomeMade team and I were looking at, I was like, oh, that could have Y seams. There's no way I could do that to everyone. There's too many people at different levels.
Yeah.
But then Vanessa and I got talking, and then she showed me it really up close, and I thought, oh, what was your answer, Vanessa?
Yeah, it's the fabric. It kind of tricks you to not really know what's going on. And it actually makes it look way more complicated than what it is. So
it's just half square triangles.
Yeah, it's just half square triangles.
I know.
And that's the amazing part about ombre fabric, is that you do some of the work and it does the rest.
I know. It just guides your eye in a way that's it's so beautiful. Donna's asking about shipping. Free shipping, Donna. Your box, wherever you are in North America, is free shipping. If you're tuning in from some other part of the world, we will ship to you, and we will do our very, very best to get you the absolute lowest shipping rate we possibly can. Because I know in some countries it's tough to get, a hold of some of this stuff. So we will do our absolute best to get it to you. I guarantee you wouldn't be able to just order this fabric for less than what you're going to get it in this kit. So that probably will help you make up some of that shipping cost. But I know shipping, but free shipping in North America, we'll try our best. Tamara, next question.
Where can we buy Vanessa's fabrics?
Oh yeah, your local quilt. You can talk about that, Vanessa.
Anywhere, really. It is all over the place. It's really kind of amazing. When I first started to try to kind of get ombre fabric to not be sort of in the back and not all that excited, because ombre fabric's been around for quite some time, and I had an idea about 13-ish years ago that I'm you know what? Why don't we make it up front, in the front row? And it was kind of hard to convince a few people to really care about it for a few years, but now it's there. And it is in its prime, and it is in stores. So your local quilt store, your favorite online store. And I know there are multiple places in Canada, Australia, Europe, and all over the United States. And I know in lots of other little different places as well. But I do know that there are certain stores, like certain websites that can actually also ship wherever.
Yeah. Ombre Galaxy is just being released. Is it May or April?
It's like, well, the pre-cuts have started to ship. So people have been showing that they are there. And I believe yardage is coming out in the next few weeks or so. It should be, usually the pre-cuts get shipped out first and then the yardage shows up a little bit later.
And so I'll just be totally honest. When we say to the fabric manufacturer, to Moda, and to the distributor in Canada, okay, so we've got the quilting retreat, they basically will say, okay, let us know how much you need. And then we say, well, I don't know how many people have registered. And then we sort of have to make a guess based on how many people have registered. And then we say, okay, we're going to order however many yards. And then once we get to that amount, we can't give you any more because they won't have any more. So that's why I'm saying if you're kind of on the fence, and that's why we've launched it so early, because this is the new Galaxy line. It's just coming out now, which means we can sort of say to them, okay, everybody needs to get 10 yards of this split up into all of these different colors. They'll be able to fill the order. But in a few months from now, once it's been released, they won't be able to fill it.
It's really interesting. This is our fourth ombre that we've done, that's especially with an overlay. And I mean, the confetti dot pretty much made its mark on the world, in the quilting world. But this Ombre Galaxy is doing really, it's kind of interesting to see the numbers for this one. So it's very popular. So you'll probably want to get in quickly to make sure that they'll have it. Yeah,
for sure. We're going to place our fabric order in the next week. Which is it's actually kind of, it's too bad because the quilting retreat doesn't start until October, but we have to put the order in order to get it for you guys. So if that means only, half of the people who wanted to participate can, I'm sorry, but I'm warning you right now.
It's gorgeous fabric. And it's everything that you've mentioned. I'm like, dang, this is an amazing retreat.
No, it really is so fun. It really is
everything that comes in the box and all the help and all the hangout. Yeah,
I know. we really don't make any money on this. We were joking about last year's that we really did it for the love of the quilt, and that's what we're doing this year too, because it is expensive to make quilts and it is hard to take quilting classes. And so it really is great that, we can put this together and convince some of our great sponsors to help us put it together in a way that's affordable, even though it still is a lot of money. It's not like $300 isn't a lot of money. It is. But anybody who's made a quilt before knows you can easily drop that much, especially when you're going to get the backing fabric and the batting, the thread, and all the extras,
Exactly. Yeah.
I just noticed sometimes because we're quilters and not tech people, that we're always oh no, you got charged shipping by accident. If you got charged shipping by accident, we definitely will just refund you as soon as we see it. We're always oh, someone got charged shipping again. We'll refund it right away. Don't worry. Vanessa, before we wrap up, there's something interesting that people need to know about Vanessa, that we're talking about her as, a pattern designer, a fabric designer, and all these great sewing things. But, if you've been following Vanessa on Instagram, you might also realize that she's also a life coach. And you got to tell me a little bit more about this, because I think I might need you. I don't think I might need you. I know I need you.
All right. So this is very interesting. Psychology has always been my passion, and I'm also very creative. It's just the two things in my life that have been pretty constant, that I have found evolving throughout my life. And I was going into school for psychology. I really wanted to be a marriage and family therapist. And then I started having kids and all this other stuff. And, school got a little overwhelming. And so I put it on the back burner. And so I started to just, do stuff at home. And that was my creative outlet. And then, hey, look at this. This turned into an amazing career that I didn't actually was going to school to plan for. But then as time went on, it's really interesting running a business from home. Because I did it with my husband gone, and then when he came back, and I'm like, okay, I think this is something that I can continue to do. I had 4 little kids, and trying to balance life is really interesting as an entrepreneur, or even just as a human being trying to balance life. And so I love all my journey, but I found myself in a lot of overwhelming feelings, anxiety, panic attacks, and those type of things. And I'm like, you know what? I can't do this like this. So what's really interesting is I went back to school to get my psychology degree, and I got that right as my oldest was graduating high school. And the whole intent was to actually be able to then move forward and to be a marriage and family therapist, that I could help other individuals, because I'm also married to a marriage and family therapist. And so I'm a true advocate of mental health and actually those type of things. So the pandemic hit, and I found myself following a lot of podcasts and doing all this thing. And I started following a couple of life coaches. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And I had put schooling on the side again. And then I decided to actually move forward a little bit more with the life coach and see what it's all about. And it was amazing how I was helped, not just in my personal life, but also in my business life. And so I decided to get certified as a life coach instead of going into being a marriage and family therapist. So I got certified in the way that I was helped quite a bit in my business. And now I no longer am. There's times of stress. That's just normal. But I also have been taught in a way to be able to process emotions and to really sort of look at my business in a different way, and to be able to actually have different results, but from different emotions. And my actions I show up completely different now. And I have a lot more fun with my business again, where before it used to just be like, oh, this fun hobby. And then it became this oh my gosh, this business. And now it's like, yeah, this fun business, right? Yeah. And so what I do for individuals is I mainly work with other women who are either working and trying to find balance at home, or who are entrepreneurs like myself. And I have some amazing clients. It's so amazing to watch these women come to me in the same place that I was when I went to a life coach. And then eventually, usually they just come to me for 12 weeks. And after 12 weeks, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. It's so crazy. Is it voodoo? Is it magic? No, literally, it's just the tools that I have. Yeah. So I'm very passionate about it, and I still do both, and I do both. And I'm so grateful that I found life coaching and the way that it helped me. And I love to help other women to be able to find harmony and joy, both in their work environment, whether that's entrepreneur or if that's other type of business, and also to find harmony and balance at home so that they can rock it in both places.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great. Well, a lot of people who are quilting are not professional quilters. They are trying to find a balance between those kinds of things. So I love that you've, managed to connect those two things. And I'm glad we took a few minutes to kind of go through that side of you too, because it is nice to be able to meet you in person here tonight and talk about the fabric that we're loving and the pattern that we're loving, and take, kind of a deep dive into who you are. So I hope you're all following Vanessa Christenson. You can find her on Instagram. You're V & Co or V Christenson on Instagram?
V Christenson. I know I probably should put my handle under there, but it's just at V Christenson.
I know. Mine's wrong too. Anyway, so it is what it is. Mine's like, yeah, here should be HomeMade, but it's my name anyway. So all of this, if you're just tuning in now, is to launch the Stargazer quilt as part of, well, not part, it's the star of the show in the HomeMade 2022 quilting retreat. This is the quilt we are doing. It starts in October. And so I hope you will register. I saw Danielle Tilly was asking how many people have already registered, because we do have to cap it. We're over 100 people who've already registered. So if that's bound to go up tonight, I hope, because lots of people have been watching and tuning in, and we are going to order the kits next week, and we will cap it after that. So yeah, I hope you love it as much as I do. I think this is going to be such a fun one. I mean, it's going to be a classic too. It's going to stand the test of time. It's going to be gorgeous forever. Vanessa, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. This has been an amazing experience, and I love what you're doing. This is amazing. I know that the cost is super amazing too, because I know how much is going in this box.
Yeah, lots and lots of supplies. So go to homemade.ca if you are interested in just reading about it or checking out the quilt, and register soon to reserve your spot. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, everyone. If you have any other questions, you can leave them in the comments, and I'll go back through the feed tonight and we'll try to get to you. If you have any questions or any trouble registering, you can always email info@homemade.ca. Have a great night, Vanessa, and we will be talking to you in the weeks and months to come before the retreat.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Have a great night.